All right, so let's set the stage here. It's 2022. I am just starting to get serious about carrying every day and firearms training, and the only guns I have are an M&P Shield subcompact and an M&P 2.0 in 10mm. And I rotate between carrying both. The Shield is really easy to conceal carry, but it's too small for my hands, and I don't really shoot a subcompact very well at all. And while the M&P 2.0 and 10 really fit my hands great, the early 10mm versions of that handgun had some pretty serious teething issues, and I was starting to quickly find out that if I wanted to train on a weekly or even bi-weekly basis, 10mm was gonna cost me a lot more money than 9. I knew that I needed to just cut my losses, go out and buy a full-size 9mm duty-style handgun that I would conceal carry as well as train with a lot. I walked out of my local gun store with this FN 509, and it has since been 3 years and 15,000 rounds later. Alright, so let's get this out of the way. Did anybody tell me to make this video? No. Does FN know that I exist? No. Would I like to be on FN's payroll? Yes. Until that day comes, I am unfortunately just making this review because of my own crippling flavor of autism and not due to any outside forces. Spoiler alert, I don't think FN's gonna want to reach out to me after this.
So Harrison, what do we have here?
I need to really point out that we did not pick the targets that we have access to right now. So we're just not going to talk about that. The 509 was developed by FN as a candidate for the MHS handgun contract. This is the same contract that SIG ended up winning with the P320 or M18, M17, that whole thing. Now, when a lot of people hear modularity and this handgun contract, they immediately just think the Army wanted a removable fire control unit like was in the P320. That's not actually the case. While that does certainly help, what the Army wanted was the ability to use optics, the option to have a threaded barrel, be able to have a shorter version of the weapon for concealed carry, a longer version of the weapon. They wanted to have the ability to mount lights because lights are cool, and they wanted back straps that were changeable so that if people had different sized hands, it wouldn't really be an issue. Essentially, one family of handguns that could fill every role across the US Army. In designing the 509 platform, FN had to create something that out of the box was striker fired, optics ready, light ready, had swappable back straps, and had the option of a threaded barrel. Basically, they just needed to make a modern handgun. Despite not being adopted by the military, the 509 has actually been picked up across numerous police departments across the country, the most notable of which is the LAPD. From here, we would see what I'm just going to call the 500 series being adopted and released onto the civilian market in Q2 of 2017. Following the 509 was the now extinct 503, which was the compact version, which I believe has been replaced by the FN Reflex. There was the 502, which is the 22 long rifle variant, and lastly, the 545 and 510, which were released to the market in 2023. I do actually have a little bit of experience with the 510. I owned one for a little bit. I have this thing with 10mm where I really like the idea of 10mm. I buy a 10mm handgun, I love it, and then I don't really want to buy ammo for it, and so it just sits there. And then I trade it in for something else. It's a problem. So this is my 509 that I bought all the way back in 2022, and I have close to 15,000 rounds through it. I say close because I think the number is actually 14,500 and something, but 15,000 looks way better on the thumbnail. I have carried this gun almost every single day for about 3 years straight. Out of all of the weapons I own, this is the first one that I think is worthy of a review on this platform because I've beat the crap out of this thing. What I ended up with was a full-size 509 with the 4-inch barrel, its optics cut, so the MRD version, and the flat-face trigger. Now, we gotta talk about the trigger. So the 510 that I had was equipped with FN's curved, the hinged trigger. And I think out of the box, that trigger was more sensitive than the flat face trigger. However, I am personally a fan of flat face triggers for my handguns. And believe it or not, after 15,000 rounds, it's broken in. However, one thing I will say is I still don't really love the reset on this trigger at all. I'm gonna do this left-handed so that you guys can see it. So here's the break. Here's the reset. I'm gonna be honest, it looked better on camera than it was in real life, but the distance needed to reset this trigger, it's kind of far and it has a little bit of a spring to it. It's basically a duty style handgun trigger. There's not really anything great. There's not really anything glaringly terrible. You know what you're getting. Golly, Taylor.
186.
What vendetta do you have right now? You're not even trying to hit the target. You're just trying to send those rounds as fast as you can.
Your gun does feel pleasant to shoot fast like that. I felt like I could shoot that gun faster than the other ones.
While companies like Apex do make a really, really good drop-in, I am just a little bit hesitant to, change the trigger out on a gun that I carry every day, because at the end of the day, this trigger does the job. Now, the reason I didn't go with the tactical version of the 509 is that I've personally found that when you are concealed carrying a handgun, especially appendix, a threaded barrel can kind of be a pain in the butt. I think one of my favorite things about the 509 is honestly just the look and feel of the handgun. The way the gun is textured, to me, it does feel modern. Everything from the slide serrations at the front and rear to the 3 different types of grip textures found on the grip, the ambidextrous controls. FN did a really good job at designing a handgun that is easy to manipulate and very good to hold on to. That's going to be foreshadowing. Now, the iron sights on the 509 are certainly adequate. They're better than, stock Glock sights. And mine did come equipped with this front night sight. It's green. I don't think it's tritium, but it's green. Night vision is green, so that means it's high quality, right? It's green like night vision, guys. Now, despite all else, I do think FN made a really good looking handgun here. All right, so the grip angle of the 509, it's about 17 to 18 degrees, which is more similar to that of a 1911 than something like a Glock. What that results in for me is a handgun that I think points really, really well. And what pointing well translates to is with this handgun, I have a really good degree of first shot accuracy. But this is gonna bring me to another big gripe with this handgun, is that after that first shot, this thing is pretty snappy. When even compared to a Glock, the 509 recoils much more sharply. Now, if I'm locked in, dialed in, we're at the range, I know what I'm doing, I've got my grip right, it's not really that much of an issue. And again, after 15,000 rounds, I'm kind of just used to it. But mark my words, this handgun is snappy. Now, FN does make a factory barrel that has a QD attachment for a compensator, and that actually looks really cool. But it's $350, so I'm not going to be trying it anytime soon. Despite having a relatively high round count on this handgun, I am in no means a good handgun shooter. I am just getting better. And our previous competition we just did really, really showed me that one thing I need to work on is shooting handgun when I am fatigued. Since that competition, I've been really, really diving into the mechanics of my grip and trying to remedy some training scars that I've picked up on over the past few years. All right, so we came all the way out here to the range, and I just put this TLR-7X on the 509 and realized that my light-bearing holster does not work with this setup. So, I guess I'm just not gonna use the holster. That being said, the mechanical accuracy of the 509 does seem pretty good. Like I said, I am very accurate with this handgun on first round impact. It's the follow-up shots from this that make it a little bit difficult to be accurate, not the barrel. From my understanding, FN seems to be pretty decent at making barrels, and the barrel in the 509 is certainly no exception. The 509 features a cold hammer forged barrel with a recessed target crown and a polished chamber and feed ramp. And like all the other firearms I own, it is more accurate than I am. Now, so speaking of accuracy, I've been running the Holosun 507K on here since about the 6,000 round mark. And I don't need to talk about this sight too much, but I'll take this as an opportunity to talk about FN's plate system. It's a plate system. They're not really doing anything innovative here. You know, it's a plate system. It certainly works. One thing I will give them credit for, this thing is really, really secure. I bang this thing against my fist. I bang it against tables. I use my belt to rack the slide. And from 6,000 rounds to 15,000 rounds, it has never once lost zero. So for what it's worth, FN's plate system does seem to do a good job. I want to give a huge shout out to one of our favorite partners, Barbell Apparel. Now, lucky for you guys, Barbell's early access Black Friday sale begins November 3rd and goes through the 23rd. Now, what happens on this sale, all pants across their entire website go down to $99. This is huge. We wear a ton of Barbell stuff. We train in their jeans all the time. They're incredible. Recently, though, I've been rocking the Adapt joggers, and I wear these things everywhere. I'm wearing them right now. I wear them to work. I wear them in the gym. They have quickly become my favorite pair of joggers I own. And guys, I own too many joggers. Now, believe it or not, this whole deal actually gets way better because starting November 24th and going through Cyber Monday, site-wide, everything Barbell sells will be 20% off. And that stacks on top of the $99 pants deal, which will continue through that time. And yeah, that's right, you heard me correct, 20% off site-wide. Guys, do not miss out on Barbell's early access Black Friday sale. Now, when it comes to controls, the 509 actually does things very well. We have a fully ambidextrous slide lock, slide release, as well as a magazine release. One thing I really like about this handgun is that I have never had to change my grip to reach something. Do I need to drop the slide? Do I need to drop the magazine? It just works. The controls are metal and they are very well pronounced, but not so pronounced that you can accidentally hit things. And I love the feel of these controls, especially compared to my Glock. Now, another pro to the 509 is that the magazines are really well done. What you're gonna end up with for magazines are metal double stacked mags. So the ones I have, I live in a free state. So this one is 17 plus one in the chamber, and this one is 24 plus one in the chamber. I own 8 of these magazines. I think I've got 4 of the 17 rounders and 4 of the 24 rounders. I've never had a single magazine related problem with this gun. And again, I beat these things up. I will say though, a con to the 509 is that this is a handgun that really could benefit from a slightly larger magwell. And if you're gonna run one of these, I would recommend getting a flared magwell. All right, I'm gonna slow this one down and actually try and shoot good. Oh, got it. It's not the end of the world, but even compared to something like a stock Glock 19, this magwell does feel a little bit small. Now, let's talk about the thing that keeps me coming back to the 509. The reason I have stuck with it for 3 years and I do have a higher round count on this handgun. The reliability. I want to do such a big preface here that I am a sample size of 1. And yes, this is going to be highly anecdotal, but in 15,000 rounds of ammo, I have never had a single failure with the 509, and I truly mean that. I have fed everything through this. I have fed the nicest of hollow points. I have gone from like 85 grain stuff that will smoke through body armor all the way up to 147 grain. I have put garbage bargain bin ammo through this, and it just feeds all of it, no problem. I have dropped this gun on the ground. I have knocked it against tables. I rack it by the slide on anything and everything when I probably shouldn't, and it just doesn't quit. Even comparing it to my Glock 19, like a Glock is supposed to be the standard of reliability, my Glock doesn't like to feed with certain types of hollow points and especially the lighter grain stuff. The 509 just powers through it. It doesn't matter what I feed this thing, what conditions I'm shooting in, it just runs. So we have a highly reliable duty style handgun with modern features. Sounds good. How does it compare to the competition? Well, that's when things really start to not look good for the 509. For this example, let's compare the 509 to competitors in its class from Glock, M&P, and SIG. So we're looking at the Glock 19, I guess we'll say the 19X, an M&P 2.0, and just a P320. Looking across the board at all of these handguns available in a similar configuration, so optics ready, full size, from big box stores, the 509 is the most expensive by a long shot. Whereas most of the competition ranges from about the $500 to $600, $650 price point, the 509 typically comes in about $750 to $900. And if you want the tactical version, they charge about $1,000 for it. And as much as I do appreciate this handgun, I think the price point is why we don't see people often talking about it, making videos about it, or recommending it.
Just tell me where to stand. We don't even have anything marked.
I brought platforms.
Where do you go?
Y'all were too busy doing other shit.
You can platform on this dick.
FN has basically priced this handgun to compete with the likes of the PDP Pro, and while I do like the 509, it's not the PDP Pro. And don't even get me started on the 509 Edge series, which is FN's take on making a hybrid duty and competition gun, and in reality, it doesn't really do a good job at being either of those things.
You gotta hit them.
If anyone from FN is watching this, first off, hello, sorry. I would still love to work with you, send me things. But guys, I would really like to see a $200 price drop across the 509 line. It needs to just be competitive. I think this is a good handgun, and I would like to see it in the hands of more people, but for what FN is charging, I don't know why a lot of people would consider it when there's other things on the market. My opinion is that this is a really very reliable handgun. It is just not accurately priced for what it is at all. Despite all that, the second reason that I keep coming back to the 509, it's highly subjective, but it's something that I would actually say is a very important factor when you are picking out a handgun that you are going to train with and carry as often as you can. This just fits my hands really well. I think with something like a rifle, we can stand to be a little bit more analytical and picky about this is good, this is bad, you should get this, you should not get this. But when it comes to handguns, as long as they work, the small little differences in everyone's hands, your palm size, and your personal preferences, they actually play a pretty big role. I have a ton of people who ask me what should their first handgun be, and I've never once told anyone to get a 509. I usually just say get a Glock, get an M&P, but most importantly, go to your local range, try out a bunch of things, and get something that fits your hands well, works for you, and most importantly, that you like shooting. So, would I buy the 509 again? I think this is a handgun that I have grown the most on as a shooter by using this handgun, so I have a soft spot for this pistol. And yeah, for me, I think I would buy this again. It is a handgun that I have beat to death, put 15,000 rounds through, never swapped or replaced a single part. And this might sound odd, but while I would be a little hesitant to compete with the 509, I don't hesitate at all in trusting my life to it. But would I recommend it to you? I can't really say yes due to the price point. I think if I dumped about $600 into this handgun for the compensator, a flared magwell, the Apex trigger, I think it would be something really cool that is really fun to shoot. But for $600, I can buy another handgun. And if I factor in the cost of the 509 plus all of the stuff I would want to put on it to make it fun, we're kind of getting into budget 2011 territory. While I objectively like this handgun, it doesn't do anything that a cheaper M&P wouldn't. And my advice to you is go out and try one for yourself.
So we don't really shoot past 200 typically here with Basecamp.
I can't hit anything past 100, truthfully. And just in the few rounds I've fired today, I am vastly aware that I am not only underprepared for proving grounds, I am underqualified to even be there.
Yeah, but that's why they have an intermediate division. Thank God. So we're gonna get to it, get after some fundamental work, just hammer it home. It's about 90 degrees down here in South Alabama, and we're out here suffering. So let's get to it.
Let's do it.